Welcome to the Paddy Wagon with Peter Duke and Addy Adds. How you doing, Addie?
I'm doing fantastic, Peter Duke. Welcome,
All right.
or thanks for having me back on our show.
Well,
It's an
you're
honor.
welcome. And now I'm double checking to make sure that my backup isn't running, so that it ruins my visual integrity. If my visual integrity starts to fall apart, it's because I have this program called Backblaze, which is a deal. It's like $70 a year, and it backs up your entire computer. Of course, with the amount of files that I've got, it's going to take 2 months, I think, to back up all my files. But it runs in the background all the time, which is great. Except that when you want to turn it off because you're doing a live stream, you can only pause it. You can't actually turn it off. And so if my signal starts to get corrupted in the middle of the show, I got to go turn it off again. So I've got to work that out, figure out some other solution. Maybe
Okay.
I'll put Bad Plays on a different machine or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, Super Bowl Sunday.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Jets just flew over my house. I was trying to figure out whether or not it was the Russians.
No, the Jets are not in the Super Bowl.
What, are you Gary Vaynerchuk or something? Are you digging Gary Vaynerchuk? Yeah, the Jets are not in the Super Bowl, but Vegas' team, the Los Angeles Rams, are.
Yes.
Yes.
Wait, you said Vegas?
Yeah, Las Vegas. Yeah, because the Rams always beat the spread. When I was a kid, when I was in junior high school, and I always used to bet my friends, we bet $1 or something at school on who was going to win the football game, and it's when you're a kid, you're a fan, right? You want your team to win, so you're always betting on your team, and so I became hyper aware of the spreads, the point spreads in Vegas, and the Rams famously were always beating the spread, either over or under, so they were always making Vegas rich. So
Wow.
it'll be interesting to see what
That
happens
was back
today.
when they were St. Louis Rams,
No,
then.
no, no, no. Before St. Louis, they were Los Angeles Rams. Then they were the St. Louis Rams, and yeah,
Oh,
and they were owned by this guy named Carol Rosenblum, and Carol Rosenblum lived in the Malibu colony, and one day they found Carol Rosenblum again. Vegas' team. They found Carol Rosenblum drowned in 3 feet of water in front of his house.
oh,
So he used to get up out of bed every morning and go swimming, and
okay.
he was in pretty good shape, I think. And they found him; he drowned,
Right.
and he
Okay.
had just married a Las Vegas showgirl named Georgia Frontieri, who I believe is still the owner of the Rams today. And Georgia moved the Rams to St. Louis, and then she moved them back, I believe. I can get fact. The audience can fact check me. Let me.
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
Okay,
it's
I'm
oh, I
having
ran.
trouble. I'm getting a message that I'm having trouble with the PeerTube. It says we're having trouble streaming to your destination. Is it possible that your RTMP server or URL or stream key was invalid? We'll keep trying to check. We'll keep trying and let you know
Yeah.
if it's
Don't
resolved.
worry about that. It's problematic at times, but we're
All
on
right.
Rockfin, which is much more important. And I kind of am sending people out of ordinary for me as of late towards YouTube because I'm trying to grow up the Reality OS channel. So that being said, Rockfin is where I'm kind of sending people um, for my own work. So we wanted to talk about my book that I just released yesterday. Ebook is available, paperback pending. How to cover the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, and then Peter wanted to plug his new outlet, the Duke Report, which you just upgraded your server, right? Is that correct?
I upgraded my server once, and I think I'm gonna upgrade it again because it's still not as snappy as I would like it to be. But I pulled your book up
Yes.
here, Addie,
Yes.
so that we could talk about it,
Very
and
good.
so why don't we can start there. So how to cover the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, and then you published a story on your Substack today too, right?
Yeah, that was more like a shorter summary, which most of it I included in the book.
Hmm.
Yes, my Substack, I'm not really posting my. Maybe I will, but it's more like newsletter length, article length type
Right.
stuff. So, uh, yes, yeah. Any questions you have?
Addie, I see the price is 0 on Kindle. Is that?
Oh, they do that for every book. I think it's like part of their.
Because you've opted into the Kindle Unlimited program.
I think it's called like KDP Select, whereby you agree to have your ebook exclusive to Amazon for increased reach, basically.
Yeah.
Impression
So do you
reach.
get paid if I click on that?
I actually don't know. If you buy it, I do.
Right.
But
Well,
regardless, it'll like register as a buy, I think. So it'll help my algorithm out, which I'm trying to
but
get
don't
number
you have
one again.
you don't have a price set for it?
No, it's on the right there. See, $5.99.
Okay, but if I get it on Kindle, oh, I see. If I sign up for Kindle Unlimited,
Right. Yeah, it's like
it doesn't cost me anything. So if I sign up to a subscription service, otherwise, I can buy it with one click. I get it. All right. So what are people going to find out when they get this book?
Yeah, they'll get, and it's different from my first book, which is way more researched because it was stuff I didn't experience myself really, other than I included interviews, right, that I conducted, but this is a lot more like subjective, like what I saw and experienced kind of on a day-to-day basis. I didn't include every single day. Like Christmas weekend, I was mostly resting and recovering from being sick, so I didn't even leave the apartment, I think, one day, because I was just like, staying
Well,
in and resting. But
that's exciting.
Almost every other day. Almost every other day, I include it at some point or another. Even the days where Judge Nathan was in D.C., I was on a few shows that I included and talked about, which kind of made sense actually for one of the chapter titles, because I was on Slow News Day, this YouTube show called Slow News Day with Steve, and so that kind of made sense for one chapter title. And then I don't know why I should have called you. We just like didn't really talk throughout the trial, Peter. I remember, but it's all good because
Well, you were doing 3 or 4 interviews a day besides covering the trial.
Yeah,
I mean,
2 to 3.
I kind of felt like I was talking to you because I had this parasocial relationship with you. You were always there on my TV.
We were messaging. I remember a few times.
Yeah.
You were like, yeah, but yeah, it's all good now. So
Right,
yeah,
'cause you were-
go ahead.
Because I'm a big fan of that inner city press guy, Matthew.
I really hadn't. I mean, I think almost everybody I hadn't heard of. I'm trying to think if there's anybody. The Rundown Live guy, Kriston, who's actually my colleague now, because I'm
Right.
writing for the Rundown, Milwaukee's independent media outlet, which is pretty cool because that's actually where I'm originally from. But
Right.
I recognized his logo because I had seen it on all the Rittenhouse footage.
Uh-huh.
If you guys remember that, almost everybody saw that. So I recognize that. I'm trying to think if there's obviously the hot shots like Vicky Ward and Julie Brown. I knew who they were, but pretty much everybody else, I didn't. I'm in Matthew Russell Lee's case. I'm embarrassed to admit because he is, I think, one of those like avant-garde types that I think you really like, Peter.
Yeah, if you don't follow Matthew Russell Lee, I would tweet something out right now, but I'm in the Twitter naughty room because I did an experiment this morning.
Okay. What was that?
So I have this website that I'm going to pimp later, thedukereport.com, which is my version of the Drudge Report. I'm still working out the kinks. I apologize if it's a little slow for people right now. I'm working on making it faster. It's a lot faster now than it was a week ago. But it's dynamically, pulling RSS feeds. So it's automatic. I'm not really, the only thing that I've curated is by picking the people that it's pulling content from. And some people have wondered, why their favorite internet content providers aren't on there. And the answer is that if their website doesn't support RSS, there's nothing that I can do about it at this point. So, but Harry the Greek
I saw him.
posted a story on it's like a George Carlin thing, the 5 things you can't say on the internet anymore, or they'll ban you. And so as an AI test, I cut and pasted the 5 things into a tweet, and then I reorganized the tweet so that it would say, well, I guess we all know that these things are true now. And then I listed the things that they say you're not allowed to say anymore. And within about an hour, I got an email from Twitter saying that my account was suspended for 12 hours.
And this tweet no longer exists, right?
Yeah, the tweet no longer exists. I might be able to pull it up and put it on the screen here. But basically, all I was doing was I was linking to Harry's story, and then I was listing out the things and claiming that they're all true in a very kind of tongue-in-cheek way, and just to see if the algorithm would pick it up. And man, I got fly swatted quickly.
Yeah, you said about half an hour, right?
Yeah, about a half an hour. I could probably pull it up here in a second. But why don't you talk about the book and I'll find the picture?
Yeah. Before I get to that, I just want to mention Mr. Harry the Greek's coverage was the Homeland Security declaring a 6-month war against quote-unquote fake news expiring on June the 7th. I haven't read him in a while. I just forgot the way he writes. D-Day, ? Space. Or no, he hits enter. Against who? ? Enter. No specifics. It's like...
Yeah, he's got a very eclectic style, but he cites everything. I mean, one of the things that was one of the things that's kind of a rubric that I'm using for the sites that I'm putting on thedukereport.com is the idea that I'm putting up sources that cite their sources. That is, I'm not putting people up that say, the Washington Post and the New York Times are famous for saying sources inside the White House have told us that blah 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 blah.
Yeah, like what does that even mean?
It's always crap, right? It's always horseshit. So all of the sources that are on the Duke Report, I'm trying to put people who cite everything. That is, they're not so. And I'm also trying to stay away from the dialectic, meaning I've decided I love it. I love Andrew Breitbart. I thought he's a great guy. I don't think the website called Breitbart has anything to do with him anymore, and or at least his values. And so there's all this spin. The Daily Caller, this spin. There's there's all these websites. I love Jim Hoff. I think he's great, but there's a lot of spin on the Gateway Pundit, and so I'm trying to just avoid the dialectic and just go straight with the evidence-based journalism, which is, I think, the only way that we get ourselves out of this. I avoid the dialectic, and what that means is that in our media space today, people don't really try to solve problems. They pick teams. They don't. There's homelessness in Los Angeles, right? There's probably 500 different ways that you could approach solving homelessness. But at any given point, we're being given the Republican or the Democrat solution to homelessness, right? When there may be 10,000 other solutions to homelessness. And that's what I mean by the dialectic. We are constantly being given to, if you're from Great Britain, in Great Britain, it's the same issue. You're given the liberals or the Labor and Conservative. Okay, you get two choices on how to solve a problem, and if you back up far enough, you'll notice that those two choices are like right next to each other. Like they don't have anything. They're not really that different from each other at all. So anyway, so I'm focusing kind of like on evidence-based journalism, and that's what I like about what you did with Ghislaine Maxwell. Like, there's a picture of you. You were there, right?
Yes,
You
every single
you
day, sir. Every single day.
suited up and showed up in the way that Tim Pool. That's how Tim Pool started. That's how Luke Rudkowski started. That's how a lot of the people who are kind of the big deals on the internet now, and they don't go out and.
Everybody taps out at some point, don't they? What'd you say? It's
Well,
like
I think
everybody
that.
stops doing that eventually.
Well, I mean, we include, yeah, and I'll tell you why. We included a bunch of links in the description below, okay, to how people can support your journalism, right?
Thank you, Peter.
And
Yes.
and the reason that we've done that is because it costs money to go do that. And I think that part of the reason that Tim Pool stopped doing it, and part of the reason that Luke Rudkowski stopped doing it, and a lot of the reasons that a lot of people stopped doing it is because getting on airplanes and paying for hotels and meals in restaurants for every meal, and all of those things cost money and it's expensive. And I know that Tim Pool stopped doing it when he was making a bunch of money on YouTube, and then YouTube, they didn't deplatform him, they didn't defund him, but they changed the algorithm so that he wasn't making as much money anymore, and he suddenly became a page reader. So you've got these websites like The Quartering, Jeremy at The Quartering, and you've got Tim Pool. He's very good, Jeremy at The Quartering. But he'll admit he's a page reader. That is, he brings up web pages of the 5 story. He does 5 videos a day, but basically what he does is he goes and reads 5 articles on the internet. He pulls it up on the screen the same way that we have your book pulled up on the screen, and they talk about the story of the day. It's always the outrage of the day, the hot take of the day. He's very
I kind of see that as like a level, like that's a level you get to, like that's a privilege that they get to do that. And I'm not criticizing them yet, but because they work, to get there, right? But it's like, it's kind of lazy, it's just like.
Well, I think, I don't know if it's I don't know if it's lazy or cost effective. I mean, you're young, right?
That's true.
You're young, and when you're young, you have lots of energy, right? And you can sleep on the floor in a sleeping bag, and you're okay with it. But after a while, it gets old, And those guys have figured out that by being now the problem is, again, with that kind of journalism, is they're completely dependent on somebody out there in the world doing actual journalism.
Right.
Because they're reading somebody else's journalism.
Or attempt at it, right? Because a lot of times they're covering mainstream stuff, which is not. It's just propaganda. But yeah, you have a good point. And I'm not saying that's not good work or needed work, because then you basically have a very necessary job, which is pointing out kind of obvious stuff to the lemmings, right? Where,
right,
someone like George or Ryan, or even like, Matthew Lee, they don't slow down for people quite as much, right?
Right, and that becomes the issue, because if George had a producer who was going around and synthesizing all of his content. I mean, a lot of the websites that I looked at, hang on, let me just save this. A lot of the websites that I looked at, a good example is David Knight. David Knight, who used to be on Once You See, You Can't Unsee. History Taught Us in Schools has been a massive brainwashing psyop. Yes, it has. Yes, it has. And I'm trying to fix that. But David Knight, for example, David Knight does an excellent show every day, Monday through Friday, where he analyzes the news. And it's it's the same show that he did on InfoWars, except at InfoWars he had a producer. Not that he isn't produced, but he's doing everything by himself, I think, with his son, and so. The shows that he does are great if you want to consume a 3-hour video, right? But there's all kinds of different ways that you can synthesize that. So, for example, today is Sunday, and Sunday is when Richard Grove does Grand Theft World. Grand Theft World is a podcast where he recaps all of the news for the week, but the podcast can be up to 7 hours long. They're usually only about 5 hours long, but they can go as long as 7. I don't know anybody who's ever going to watch or consume a 7-hour podcast, but there's method to his madness. What he does is that after he does everything in chapters, like you and I, when we're talking, we kind of have free-form discussions. We ramble all over the place. Richard will talk about one subject for 15 minutes, right? And then his producer will go back and cut that 15 minutes out, and then on his channel, it will get reposted during the week as a 15-minute video. That's a much more manageable way to do it. And from a time constraint, what he's doing is he's doing one 5 to 7 hour show a week.
Yeah, he's batching it.
And he's batching it. Which is kind of the way that they shoot game shows. I don't know if people know this, but they shoot 10 game shows a day. Okay, they will shoot an entire season of game shows. Jeopardy or any of those shows that people watch on TV. They shoot an entire season in a week. They just shoot them back to back to back to back, and then they put them out, a half an hour every day. So what Richard Grove is doing is smart, but getting back to David Knight really kind of needs somebody who's taking a transcript and then putting the citations. I was explaining to somebody else, the Corbett Report is again, all of these websites have strong points and weak points. James Corbett's got so much content you can't find it all, which there's no index on the site, which I find problematic. There is a search engine, but you have to know what you're searching for, and he's covered so many different topics in the last 12 years that knowing what to search for becomes the issue. But James Corbett, for every video that he puts up a full transcript below the video, and then he also puts a spreadsheet of all of the citations, and that's probably the sheet that he was working off of when he made the show. That is, he probably started off with his list of citations, then he talks through all of the points that he's going to make, he cites all of his sources, and then that goes into the web page. I find all of that stuff to be incredibly helpful because people who are in a hurry, who are trying to kind of put a story together, it's a very good way to do it. Now, I don't even know how I got here, Addie, because we were talking about your book, and I've wandered off in the weeds about synthesis.
The paperback has an index, so if people want to use it as a reference, they definitely can. And I think that your name is in that index, Peter. So
and indexes are great. In a world where people have Kindles, though, indexes are less important. But it drives me crazy.
Important for the paperback. I think it's really important if you want it to be used for study in the future, right?
Right. Exactly. Well, yeah, because I just bought 2 books by this guy Nicholas Hager, who's he's an MI6 guy all the way down. Like this guy, if he wasn't a handled operator from the time that he entered academia, he admits that he was recruited by MI6 at one point in time. But he's met with so many presidents of or leaders of countries that were about to be toppled, or bad things happened as he was moving around the world, that it makes the guy highly suspect. But I've got 2 of his books, and they're fascinating books, and they've got huge holes in them based on what his biases are. But they're still very good informationally. But they don't have indexes. They have citations. They're footnoted. There's it's footnoted to the 9s. But there's no index, and there's a bibliography, but there's no index. And
at least he has a bibliography.
Yeah.
You know what's the worst is when there's no bibliography or index or footnotes.
Well, yeah, but that's just called propaganda, I think.
No comment.
Anyway, so what are people going to find out in your book?
Well, honestly, nothing new. I mean, that's
Addie, that's not how you sell a book. Let's start all over again. Take 2.
I'm good at telling the truth. I really am. At least I think I am.
Addie, for somebody who didn't know what the okay, let's start. Let me reframe the question. Okay, because that's my job, right? Reframing.
Okay.
Addie, for somebody who
Yes.
doesn't know anything about the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, what are they going to find out when they read your book?
Well, here's the good news. You're gonna have a lot of great memories, and it's gonna be an awesome $6 well spent.
Great memories of what?
Okay, to get specific, there's stuff that I mentioned that I didn't mention on Twitter at the time because of the fact that the trial was still going on. Experiences with other journalists, either in person or online. The opinions I had during the trial as well, which I did begin to kind of release as the trial went on, but I, at least at the beginning, and certainly for the first 2 weeks or so, I tried to keep them to myself just to maintain a neutral kind of
Tease it a
cover.
little bit, Addie. Give us just a little taste. You don't have to give away the whole book. Give us a little taste of what you're talking about.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it was just interesting experiencing and observing the dynamic amongst the people who were there pretty much every day, because you pretty much got to know by the end who those people were and if someone was just showing up for the day, which happened. I remember even one of it was actually the lead attorney for Maxwell, Bobby Sternheim. There was this guy that showed up with just his phone, and he was taking footage of her. And she was like, "Who is this guy?" Basically, I can't remember exactly what she said, but she's like, "You might want to check this guy's credentials." She made some sort of joke, so it was like to the point where even the lawyers knew which reporters were there every day and which weren't. So
you had two adversarial sides, right? You had the prosecution and the defense.
Yes. Okay, that's where you're going with this. Yes, that's true.
You had the prosecution and the defense, and then you had reporters, right?
Yes.
And some of the reporters were, they had the narrative already decided that they were going to report, and then you had other people like yourself that were trying to actually tease out what was really going on. Is that, Fawn says, so new revelations from the trial experience.
I think
she's giving you a tagline for your book there, Addie.
That is a good one. That is a good one. I like that. And Peter actually gave me a very good one as well. So if people want to, and thank you for that, Peter. I wrote you.
I don't remember what it is, but you can remind me.
Okay. Yeah, I can pull it up here if you want. I think I called you a. This is from your LinkedIn, which if you want me to change it, let me know. Media technology strategist and photographer.
Yep, that's what I do. Yep, media and technology strategy, and I take pictures sometimes. So you have this interesting dynamic. You had the prosecution, you had the defense, and then you had the journalists, and there were factions in all of them, right?
Yes.
Everybody. I mean, Richard Avedon, who's a famous photographer, used to say that when you're taking a photograph, both people want to have a good outcome, but the photographer is in control of it, right? And so when you're a journalist and you're standing there with your phone and you're talking and stuff, it's like the people who you're talking about, they want you to portray them in the way that they want to be portrayed, but you've got all the control over that because you're the one who's talking, right? And so there's a picture, in the picture that you've got up here is you and Ghislaine's sister. Is that her sister with the red beanie on?
Okay, it's called a beret, I believe.
Yeah, beret. Yeah. I know it's called beret, but I just thought I'd call it a beanie to be.
Yes, beanie, Miss Beanie. Yeah.
Maybe it's because we were talking about Tim Pool earlier, but yeah.
That's right. Yeah. But yeah, that was her, one of the older sisters, one of the twins, and then.
And isn't she the one who was the Promise Software woman?
Yes. Well, no. That was her father. Yeah,
that was her father. But then
software, but it was a different name. It was called
Excite.
Touch.
What?
it was ComTouch and then later Siren. Excite, I think, was one of the search engines because the search engine she worked on was called Magellan, which was
Yes.
absorbed by MSN and Bill Gates during the 90s.
Oh, that's
So
right.
naturally, I
Magellan.
inquired about how that happened. And of course, I got no response. But the pizza is mentioned as well. The pizza anecdote. People
What's
that I met.
what's the pizza anecdote?
Oh, Isabel Maxwell bought me pizza, which I ate some of, and I shared actually quite a bit of it. There was this guy Yoshi I met that night, and then I saw him I think one other day, and then a few other people.
So the woman in the red beanie bought you pizza?
Yes, not. I don't think maybe she had me in mind when.
Was
she
it nanobot pizza?
That's what somebody was saying. I was like, I don't know, man. I didn't want to pay for dinner that evening, and I was, my thinking was, this is so public. If they kill me,
so you took pizza from someone who wanted you dead, right? I get it.
Well, there was the weird instance where Kriston he got his laptop stolen. It was like the day after Isabel started recording him and other people and other members of the media. That was the day that I was just down.
And what outlet was he working for?
He's the same guy from the Rundown Live, also from Wisconsin. So
right,
also independent. But yeah, you were right. There was factions that kind of organically formed a little bit. I mean, to the point where the guy from Slate, Stevenson, I think his name is Seth Stevenson, which he was very polite to me. And then it wasn't like he was.
Isn't Slate like left-wing CIA? Isn't that the?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
They talked about the conspiracists at the trial. I think it was the day of the verdict. He released
the
that
conspiracists.
one. I'll send it to you. I don't know he was talking about, that the same idea we're talking about, how those groups that formed, and many days were on the 5th floor because the 1st floor was filled with the legacy media, and then the courtroom was on the 3rd floor. Likewise, was filled with the legacy media. So, I interacted with him a couple times. The guy from ABC, his name is James something. He was pretty nice. I didn't really talk to him much, but he was pretty cool. And then this other person, which I think she's from Netflix. She was pretty cool too.
She was from Netflix. Is Netflix going to make it into a movie?
A documentary, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was cool to talk to.
Anywho. All right. Well, if anybody's got any questions for Addie about the trial, put them in the comments.
Please do, and then I will shut up about it unless there's updates, because I'm still covering sentencing and etc. But moving on.
So when is the sentencing?
The 25th of June. So, this is a great question. Okay. Is there a noticeable hierarchy among reporters, i.e., manifesting through seating arrangements, etc.? I would say so. I mean, even just if you're looking at the hierarchy in terms of seating, at the top would be in the courtroom itself, which was the legacy media, and that was in the 3rd floor. And then I would say probably the first floor.
And how is that decided who sits where?
Oh, I only peeked in to the room once, but generally speaking,
could you have said, "Hey, I want to sit in the courtroom"?
I mean, I did do that. I not only did I ask, but I also physically showed up in time, and it still didn't matter. But again, that's why it's very arbitrary.
That doesn't sound arbitrary. That sounds deliberate. Like, there's certain people who get in and certain people who don't get in.
What I meant is they can make their deliberate decision to disallow people arbitrarily because they don't like your T-shirt, or they don't like the way you look, or you're not legacy media, whatever.
You don't have short hair and a tie and a jacket on, or
Yeah, I mean that probably would have helped a lot. But even like there's a
Well, you
woman.
have been threatening to cut your hair, right?
Yeah, it's gonna happen at some point.
So should you do that for the sentencing, just to do an A/B to see whether or not, like, show up with a jacket and a tie and see if it makes any difference?
Show up in a tuxedo at 1 a.m. and just wait and just be like, "Come on, guys, you gotta let me in.
Right.
Yeah, I was here first, and I'm better dressed than everybody here." That would be quite an effort, and it maybe one that wouldn't even pay off, but it's certainly an idea. But yeah, hierarchy, I would say third floor, first floor, fifth floor, ninth floor, just because, yeah. But as far as the room itself, I mean, the jury seats were more desirable because they're more comfortable. So, I mean, in that sense, it's really just based on who shows up in time. But there's also like people involved directly with the trial or administratively, or maybe they're just spies. I don't know, that would just sit there and they would be allowed to have their phones in the courtroom, and you'd try talking to them and they didn't want to talk to anyone really except each other, whoever this contingent was of people who were allowed to have phones. But
That's very interesting. Did you?
yeah, I
Is that
haven't really written
did you,
about that, but yeah, it was. I mean, it was more noticeable on like the first day in the ninth floor. There was like a group of five of them, and they were like all huddled together, and more than one of us tried like just talking to them, and they weren't really having it. So.
And did you take pictures of them, or do you have any idea who they are or where they came from, or?
I wouldn't have been able to. Your phone isn't allowed in the courtroom.
Right.
Even like the.
Well, you need a
like-
photographer outside who's taking pictures of everybody going in. Then you'll know who they are later. Right?
That was actually really fun. Was just like kind of playing the hawk outside and just watching people. Yeah, that was fun. But yeah, you did get to know some of the photographers and videographers, and even in that there was like the chick for the New York Times. I don't know. I think she was like trying to find a reason to not like me, but she couldn't because she like when this other guy I don't know if he wants me to say who he works for, but it's a pretty big outlet in New York. And he just took a picture of me and wrote about the fact that I showed up every day. And she commented and she's like, "Oh, I heard this guy works for like a right-wing outlet in Utah." I was like, where is this coming from? Question here from Fawn. Fawn? Do you like this kind of work? Is it the specific case that draws you? You're good at on-the-street journalism. Yeah, it was just the case itself. I mean, it's something I've thought about more. I find it. I was talking about it actually with Roberta Glass. I think we were off camera, but she was just mentioning how it's a certain skill set to be reporting on trials in courthouses, and yeah, I mean, possibly you kind of have to be going to the building every day, though. So that's a big constraint, which is why those guys like Adam Classfeld and Matthew Lee had such an advantage over the rest of us, is they could bring their laptops in and tweet. In that sense, it was like, that is just such a huge advantage.
So Matthew gets to bring his laptop in?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And that's just
he's not sprinting in out the building. There's no way. It's physically impossible.
And he's not using a phone.
As far as I know, it's a laptop. I mean, it's just it's physically impossible to exit and enter fast enough to be tweeting as much as he and Adam Classfeld do. Yeah, right. They're allowed to bring in electronics. Yeah,
and that's because they've got. I mean, I hear him talking about judges a lot. Like, this judge is a good judge, and I wonder whether or not
he knows the personnel who work there very well. Right. I would say better than maybe anyone.
Right.
And not just that, but like their psychology, I think, to a degree as well. And yeah, he's the best, man. He's the best. But as far as my book goes, one person said that they thought I invented maybe a new way of covering trials. So that was very high praise, I gotta say.
And what is your unique value proposition, as the marketing people would say?
Very precise question. Well, this is according to this person. It was actually Roberta, but if you buy my book, you can read the exact quote. She was saying she walked out to lunch one day in the latter half of the trial, and she saw like everybody on their phones, like doing like short, like 2 minute, like the 2 minute drill that I do.
Right.
And I would say even Mr. Lee, because before he was just doing streams, and I noticed he started, and I didn't like take credit for it, but I just noticed a pattern or like a, I don't know, correlation maybe there. So that was kind of cool to see.
But what is it specific? What is it specifically what you were doing?
It wasn't too complicated. It was, I would get out before most people. I would do a 2 minute video and then I would upload it. Whereas like other people would be thinking about their deadlines or just, for example, Lee would usually be tweeting portions of verbatim testimony or what he has recording as verbatim. So I don't know. I guess I just saw a demand there. I would look at like a tweet I would do, a text tweet, and then I would look at a video, and it was like night and day, like how like the reach and like if people actually clicked on it. Like a 1 minute, 2 minute video. I think that's why a guy like Leroy Johnson of Leroy Press is so successful. And I actually met him at the trial too, and I saw him at the DC Defeat the Mandates protest too. He's so prolific, first off, but he also does these short clips of protests, so people can kind of get a gist of the atmosphere there, whatever he's covering. So yeah, it wasn't rocket science. I made short videos and uploaded them to the internet quickly after getting an update, right? So, I mean, I would also do the write up, and then like a longer video summary, but I don't know. I was thinking about it in terms of like you just mentioned, like kind of market demand. I was like, okay, these short videos are getting views. I'm gonna keep doing them, So
so then eventually everybody else was copying you. Is that the deal?
That's what Roberta asserts.
Yes.
I mean, I gotta say, I didn't see really anybody doing it at the beginning of the trial.
So everybody would run out of the trial. Everybody else would start tweeting, and you would start recording.
I don't know. I mean, I've never been a mainstream journalist, but they would go on their laptops and be writing, or some of them would be on the phone. The other thing is they would do the like the guy. I mean, you see him on Sky News. I think his name is Matthew. I talked to him like once or twice. They would be doing the broadcasting, right? Doing their live spots or just updating people from outside the courthouse. There was, I don't think.
Well, when you think about when you think about it, though, if somebody's on their laptop and they're writing, they're starting to write the story, they probably start with an outline and they probably start to fill in the blanks and stuff. If you use the video as your outline, then you don't have to waste time typing the thing into the laptop. You could actually go back and watch your videos after you go to write the story, right?
And it's the idea too that like you need a constraint to have that sort of creative freedom. Otherwise, you're counterintuitively constrained from doing really anything. So when I started realizing that, I was like, this is like that 2 minute 20-second constraint is actually a good thing in that sense.
Yeah, I always say that one man's constriction is another man's convention, and yeah, I'm being sexist, right? So, but
I didn't think of that at all.
Anyway, yeah. I mean, when I used to shoot fashion, it was like I was always trying to figure out, how I could get all this equipment in to do the picture that I wanted to do. But ultimately, you never get to do the picture that you want to do. You always get to do the picture that you can do, right? Sure. And it's nice to, Annie Leibovitz shows up at a photo shoot with literally a grip truck full of equipment and 15 assistants. And most photographers don't have that advantage. So you got to make the photograph that you can make.
Right.
Anywho, somebody said, Addie, were you hoping that more details would be presented as far as the associations with Ghislaine? I think you probably mean the Johns. Is that what you mean, or who are the clients?
I was, and I don't want to have hindsight bias here, but I got to say I was dubious that anything would happen. I knew that it could happen and it might happen, but especially as time went on, it was just maybe not too obvious, but it was becoming more and more apparent that there was a very concerted effort by the government to not release lots of information, not admit lots of evidence, even according to this is like coming from the evidence they admit they have. It's like 40 photos out of 39,760 some odd photos.
But those 39,760 photos will get sealed, right? Like, they won't be available for the public when this is all over. Is that, I mean, they've always been sealed as far as I know, except those 40 that were admitted, which we've pretty much seen, everybody's seen, it's at the Queen's cabin, all the salacious stuff, right? So, that, and then the lack of it's the salacious stuff they want us to see.
Yes, exactly.
I wouldn't say it's all the salacious stuff. I would say it's the opposite. It's
some of the salacious stuff, a very,
it's enough salacious stuff. I mean, and salacious, Prince Andrew has his arm around this girl, that's 99% of the pictures on Facebook, right? It's
I should have said, it is all, it's all salacious. The few items that they released to the public, it's pretty much all, it makes good cover photos for tabloids and such, right? So,
right. I guess the thing I've talked to several attorneys in the last couple of weeks who are starting to understand that the idea of hitting somebody with a minor offense and making it seem like they're paying some kind of a debt to society allows them to take all of the evidence and seal it up, like the last shot in Raiders of the Lost Ark, or the Orson Welles film about William Randolph Hearst.
Citizen Kane,
right? Citizen Kane, or Raiders of the Lost Ark, where all the evidence, all the pictures, everything that you really want to know about what the government involvement was gets put in a box and put into some warehouse, never to see the light of day again.
Quantico.
And is that where it goes, Quantico?
That's Quantico, Virginia, I believe.
Yeah.
Virginia. Yeah. So, FBI. That's the evidence black hole.
Yeah. Quantico.
Clyde Tolson and Hoover and you name it.
Right, and it's got a fence and guards, right? Quantico. It's like,
I think 24/7.
Yeah, it's basically a military.
Slap and seal. Yes.
Yep.
In effect, it is. Good comment here by Ron. Says short videos get more clicks. I think viewer time is valuable. I agree. That's something Peter and I have discussed several times too, which is another factor for why I really went for that 2-minute, 20-second constraint. Is you get, you lose the longer the video goes, you just lose eyeballs.
Right. So with that might be a good segue for me to start talking about the Duke report then, because we're 11 minutes away from being an hour into this.
Yes.
So
I'm done talking. Yes, we're done talking about me.
Anyway, so this is the Duke report, which is I've been talking about this for over a year. I've probably been talking about this for 3 years at this point with George, and I just decided to put my money more where my mouth is. And I built this website, and, one of the things that was a technology that was really manifesting itself in a big way in 2008, 2009, when social media networks came in and basically stomped all over it is the idea of real simple syndication. And the good news is that there's still a lot of websites, and for anybody listening out there, if you're going to start a website tomorrow, you can use any platform you want as long as it's WordPress. You don't have to do it at WordPress.com, and in fact, it's probably highly preferable if you want to maintain any kind of independence that you go self-host WordPress someplace else, because WordPress is open source, meaning that they can't really mess with you if you go put it on your own server. If you go host something at WordPress.com, there's a good chance that, like the conservative treehouse, they take a look at your popularity, and if you're not saying what they want you to say, they kick you off the platform. If you get a self-hosted WordPress website, or even Blogger. I mean, Blogger, I don't think it's been updated in 12 years, but it still outputs RSS. Substack outputs RSS. YouTube channels output RSS, real simple syndication. And what that allows me to do is to build basically a page that's run by bots. And it just goes and it pulls the last two headlines from all of these different sites. And these are the people that I pay attention to. And right now the website might be a little slow for you at different times of the day. I'm working on that. Believe me, I'm working on it. I'm putting together a list of all of the books. I used to have this kind of syllabus that people would ask me about that I would point to, and I'm getting all of that put onto this site. But basically, and even this morning, Twitter decided, because let me see if I can find the Harry story. Here we go, Harry. Brass balls, right? So Harry posted this story this morning. Homeland Security declares 6-month war against fake news, and I don't think it's going to update because it's opening in a new window. But anyway, in this story, Harry talked about how the things that the Department of Homeland Security is going to be looking for on the internet is people who are sharing stories about widespread election fraud, robbed. One bullet point is widespread election fraud robbed President Donald J. Trump of a second term as president. The second one is COVID-19 is a bioweapon and its vaccines. And probably by my saying that on this channel, some bot. But I'm reading a web page. In fact, what I should do is I should remove this web page, and then I should add a new one, so that GooTube can see the context of what I am doing. Here we go. Here's Harry's page right here. So widespread election fraud robbed President Donald J. Trump of a second term as president. COVID-19 is a bioweapon, and its vaccines are defective, resulting in deaths and serious injuries. They are saying that if you talk about the idea that 5G microwaves are dangerous to people who have been vaccinated for COVID-19, or if you talk about how COVID-19 mandates are illegal and unconstitutional, that you're going to be a target of the Department of Homeland Security. It's a national terrorism activity adversary system. So just to test that, I tweeted out that now we know that these things are true. And then I listed the bullet points. And that earned me a 12-hour suspension from Twitter within about 40 minutes. And I linked to the story. So it was kind of a very tongue-in-cheek tweet. And that earned me a 12-hour suspension. Checking that. So why am I telling you this story? Because I got booted from Twitter. And the thing is about RSS is that if you use you can do this yourself. You can get something called a feed reader. If you go to feedreader.com, you can actually get a free account for an online feed reader, and then you can put in the links to all the websites that you like to follow, and it will pull all of that stuff for you. But what I've done is I've done it for everyone else. I've basically created a a feed reader that's my feed reader, and I've made it public. And by doing that, what I can do is that I don't really care if Twitter kicks me off at this point, because that doesn't mean I'm going to be out of the loop. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to know what's going on. So, I've got Viva Fry doesn't have a web page per se. He's got a YouTube channel. So if you click on this link, it will take you to the last video that Viva Fry. David Knight does not have a.
Do you got Gruler? You got Robert Gruler on there?
I do not have Robert Gruler, but I'm open. But I'm open to suggestions, so we'll put him on here.
Oh, okay. Yes. Shout out to him. He gave me, I think, two or three shout outs maybe, or over the course of the trial. Not to bring it up again, but because you mentioned Mr. Viva Fry, who I also love. He's got a great work too. When he got blown off the internet, I lost track of Vox Day. Vox Day is a very kind of controversial character, but he's got some really great insights, and he's still on the blogger platform. Roosh V has a tendency to do like these 5-hour-long videos, but he's an incredibly insightful guy. Dr. Joseph Farrell has his Giza Death Star channel, and he does this video brief a couple times a week called News and Views from the ETHEREUM. And this guy's published like 40 or 50 books. He's got an incredible amount of insight into all kinds of stuff that's going on. So basically all of these things, most of these websites, I've got Sabo, he's an artist on here, and then I've got links. Here's the links to all the websites. So if you don't want to go be stuck with whatever the last two headlines are, you can go down here and you can find all these people. So there's Addy Adds right there. I've got you classified under current events, although I could move you to investigative journalism if it bothered you. Yeah, I think I'd prefer the latter if I have a choice.
Okay, well, easy enough.
You can do both if you want.
So, I'd rather not have duplicates, but
okay. Just put a big picture of my face on the homepage and just leave it at that.
Anyway, this is, if you want to know where I'm paying attention, what I'm looking at, and these are basically the things that I'm promoting when I'm tweeting things out, when I'm tweeting stories out, if I can tweet, then this is where I'm getting this stuff from. So if you want to be ahead of me, just go to the Duke Report, and it works on mobile. It's not. It's still a work in progress. I mean, if I can make some money doing this, I'd like to hire a developer to kind of really make it work the way that I want it to. I'm using off-the-shelf tools right now, but that's it. The Duke Report, and this is the kind of thing. Yeah, somebody loves Joseph Farrell. Yeah, Joseph Farrell's great. But this is a way to kind of undo. And just to kind of share like what my ethos is for doing this stuff. You're not going to see Breitbart on here. You're not going to see Steve Bannon on here. You're not going to see any kind of like MAGA or I would say Gateway Pundit. And the reason is because I'm trying to diminish the dialectic. That is, there are websites that make that, like, I agree with a lot of the things that those people say, but the reality is that I don't need confirmation bias every day to believe what I believe. What I'd really like to take a look at is what is the evidence for the things that are going on right now. I don't need somebody to tell me something that I already know, or to make me feel better about being right, which is what I think a lot of the which is what I think a lot of those websites do. I just really want to know what's going on. And to that end, that's my rubric, that's my heuristic that I use for determining who I'm putting on this website and who I'm not putting on this website. Because, look, Catherine, okay, so if anybody can get to Catherine Austin Fitts, I've sent a couple of different emails to her tech support people. They're very insular, let's just say. But her website is, technically, Catherine Austin Fitts' website is a mess. And there are some simple things that she could do to fix it. And I don't know who's doing IT for her, and I don't know how that's being managed. But I spent the better part of 3 or 4 hours getting a RSS feed out of that website. Um, uh, there's something funky going on under the hood, and I can't pull it out. So I'm a Solari Report subscriber. I pay, a lot of money every year for Catherine Austin Fitts content. I'm a huge fanboy. I think she's great. Her website has got big problems, and I would be happy, gratis, for free, to help them fix whatever their issues are. But
Pro bono.
pro bono. But yeah, she was on Dark Journalist yesterday, and she had some incredible insights. She said something that just totally. Catherine Austin Fitts yesterday was talking about how she believes that the banksters created crypto because it takes all of the money that would be normally invested into tangible assets like precious metals and moves them off into a digital realm where people are taking dollars out of the market and putting them into bits. So they're basically taking dollars and turning them into nothing. And at the point in time when they make the crypto disappear, then they've taken all of those chips off the table, which I thought was an incredibly, But he has access to her. But again, and Daniel List has a YouTube channel. If you look at the Dark Journalist feed on the Duke Report, it's linking to his YouTube videos, which are not his best video. He does the same kind of business model as Jay Dyer, which is that he does 1 hour for free, and then if you're a member, you can see the second hour of the interview that he does, where he deep dives, which is great. I'm also a Dark Journalist subscriber. I pay Dark Journalist. I pay Solari Report, but Dark Journalist website looks like it's 11 or 12 years old. I mean, it works for him, but it's got no RSS feed, and there's no way for me to pull story content. So the only option that I've got is to be able to pull video off. I'm Richard Grove's producer follows me on Twitter, so I'm still working out how to pull stuff from Grand Theft World. But Grand Theft World has a bot that actually aggregates. So Grand Theft World is kind of doing the same thing that I'm doing, except that it outputs it as its own RSS feed. So there's a bunch of stuff that the Grand Theft World, Grand Theft World will boost every Tim Pool post. Tim Pool's not on here, okay? Because I don't think that Tim Pool is basically just doing commentary and analysis now, and there's plenty of people who are doing that. Pick your own flavor,
Right, right, yeah.
So, anyway, so this is the Duke Report, and let's see if there's anybody. Heuristics. Where do they say? Heuristics is spelled with an H, Ron. Yeah. Heuristics.
Heuristics, yes.
Heuristics. Let me see. Heuristics. H-E-U-R. Heuristics is basically a framework for guessing.
It kind of relies on making assumptions to save time, processing time. So because of that, it is liable to being faulty due to biases.
Right. It's an educated guess.
Yeah,
but it's a finger in the air. Right. So anyway, yeah. So I love and Farrell. Farrell. He does his news and views. I think it's fantastic. He's got all of his books. But none of his books are available. None of his books are available on Audible. There's no audio books for Farrell. There's no. And if you can get them on Kindle, I guess I could get them on Kindle. I think they're on Kindle. Maybe they're not. I like having my books read to me a lot. I'm old. My eyes aren't that good. My girlfriend has been reading me Informed Speculation. Is that Heuristics? Been reading The Syndicate by Nicholas Hager, who's this MI6 guy. Again, huge holes in his story, but lots of really good information in there. I think that one of the things that you need to do in order to kind of get the whole picture is that you need to pay attention to a bunch of different sources, because different people have different biases. Look, 3/4 of the people who are in the media right now are working for some intelligence operation, So
Three quarters, huh? Is that including independents?
I think that as you get closer to the top of the pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'm doing an unfinished pyramid here.
I saw a picture today, Peter, of us at a restaurant in DC, and we were with Dave and Tara, and you're doing this, and I was like, "What are you doing?"
Because Trump used to do this all the time.
Oh, that's right.
Trump used to do this all the time, and I used to do it just to trigger people because Trump did it, you know.
Okay.
But now people say it means it's like it's WP for white power. That's what the on 4chan somebody put a meme that said that this means white power, right? And then it wound up becoming a thing. Like news reporters started reporting that this means white power. This means to me, growing up, I'm a boomer. This has always meant okay. Like,
yeah,
you're okay.
You know, when you scuba dive, that's what that means. It means
right, that's right. In the U.S. military, I heard that in the U.S. military hand signs, they were talking about getting rid of this because this is a U.S. military hand sign for okay. Like I'm good, everything's all right, you know. And then
it's like, are you okay?
And now they're talking about now they're talking about woke hand signs. Like you can't do that because it's some kind of ist. I don't even know what ist it is. It's some ist, you know.
Sure. Yeah, but I thought you were doing that because of the race thing isn't it like or that's the I thing, right?
I was trolling.
Yeah, I know you were. I didn't know what kind of troll it was. I needed it explained.
Well, the thing is about it is that there's so many people who have assigned some random meaning to what this means that when you hold it up and you do it, then people will fill it in with their own outrage, right? It's stupid. It means okay.
Yeah, A-okay.
That's A-okay. Thanks, 4chan. I love 4chan. Now, 4chan is definitely like an intelligence agency dumping ground. If you want to know what the intelligence agencies want everybody to think, go look at 4chan. Stop being affected by the completely outrageous stuff that you hear about different races and religions and stuff, because that's all there on purpose as like little honeypots in order to kind of like suck people in. But if you want to know what the intelligence agencies want people to think or want people to react to or are setting up fed honeypot traps for, go look at 4chan. Go look at Poll on 4chan. It's 4chan.org/poll. But if you're easily offended, don't go there. Just because because the whole thing is designed to offend you. Anyway,
and Wikipedia too is, I think, in a slightly different vein, but same, I think, end state objective.
Well, it depends on the subject. I think on Wikipedia, I would say that like the thing is about Wikipedia is that it's a giant limited hangout, right? It's
yes, like the trial. Yeah.
Right.
Unlimited hangout. Yeah. Buy my book.
Unlimited hangout is on my.
Shout out. She featured some of my work actually, so shout out to her.
Yeah, she's got now her website's together. Unlimited hangout. She knows what she's doing. And then one other thing that I'm doing. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Is that a lot of people ask me about the books I'm reading or I've read and how I figure this stuff out. So I'm working. This is another page for the Duke Report. This is a tease here. I haven't gotten it done yet. But, these are, John reads a lot of these books and Mark, John will start to read a book. And then what I do is I go buy the book and then I read it and I get it read before John finishes reading it on YouTube. But shout out to John. It's a public service that he does.
He's a great resource for book recommendations for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So so I'm going through and I'm putting all of the stuff. Here's this book that I'm reading now.
There's Ryan Holiday. The Syndicate, that's the one you're reading right now?
Yeah, this is the one I'm reading right now, Wall Street Trilogy, which is the classic Anthony Sutton book. And then one of the things, let me see if this, one of the things that's good about this too is that I'm not only, let me make sure that you can see this. Yes, you can see it. Is that I'm putting the book, I'm putting a blurb about it. I'm showing you how you can buy it. I'm going to go and backfill this. This is the Amazon. I make a little bit of money if you click on this Amazon link, but I'm also going to put the internet archive links, because there's many books that you can get as kind of library loanouts on the internet for free. If you don't mind sitting and reading it on a computer screen, I do mind reading it on a computer screen, so I don't do that. But one of the things that I've tried to do is I've tried to put like links to the to videos with the authors talking about the content that's in the book, you know, so that you can also see that. And then if Amazon's got a Kindle version of it, then so they don't have a Kindle version of this one. So yeah, Anthony Sutton, they don't make, again, one of the things that's very interesting about all of these books when you start to like dig into them is that the ones that are really telling you what's really going on, they don't have Kindle versions. They don't have Audible versions. You know what I mean? They're very expensive when you go. I mean, the Wall Street Trilogy.
Out of print, yeah.
I mean,
I can't remember what it was. Something about the CIA, and I tried to find it on, what's it called, Thrift Books or whatever that website is, and I couldn't find it anywhere, man. It wasn't on there or Amazon.
So shout out to Tracy Connors, because Scribd, like Zbigniew Brzezinski's Between Two Worlds, out of print. It's the book where he lays out the roadmap for exactly what we're going through right at this moment, like how you do the divide and conquer and how you take over countries and how you do all of that stuff. It's out of print. Again, it's out of print because they print it back in the day when they're flexing, but they don't want people looking at it now. And Chris says PDFs can be read aloud by Internet Explorer. Who uses Internet Explorer?
That's a good question.
Chris also told me last week, though, that you can import PDFs into Kindle, and then Kindle will read you the PDFs after you import them into the Kindle. I haven't tried that yet. Okay.
That's true, I believe, yep.
But Between Two Worlds is, let me see if I can bring this back up again, add to stream, go back here. Let's see, if I hit back and I scroll to the top here, I think. Between Two Ages, here we go. Between Two Ages by Zbigniew Brzezinski. If you want to go buy it on Amazon, let me see. Oh, it opens it in a new page.
$400 or something?
It's the hardcover is $49, the paperback's $133. The mass market paperback is $120. However, on the Internet Archive, and it's going to open it in a different window. So let me show you what that looks like. Remove, stop screen, share, Brave tab. Here we go. So here's the book on the Internet Archive, and you can go read it on the Internet Archive. So you don't have to pay the $140 for it. Oh, I'm sorry. It only gave me a preview. You have to log in and borrow it. And you have to renew it every hour. So basically, it's like a library, but as long as you're sitting and reading it, you can keep it checked out. But when you stop reading it, it will get checked back in again. So, so there are lots of, different ways. But what I was going to say is that there's a full PDF of it on Scribd.
Scribd's good. I like Scribd too.
Yeah, Scribd. It's like $10 a month, and all you can eat.
Yes. All your brain can eat. He actually meant Microsoft Edge. Oh, pardon me, Peter. Yeah, so same deal, I think, right? Archive.org. I'll also read it to you, but I've not tried it.
I have. It's really bad. It's very robotic and hard to listen to and understand. But I have some British voice. I have my iPhone read me things in this kind of erudite British voice, and it always sounds smarter, when some British guy is reading it to you. Let me see who.
Yeah, I agree. We shouldn't not mention Mr. Biden, I think, considering he supplied us with a fantastic thumbnail this evening.
That's right. That's right. Well, the Super Bowl is tonight, right? And people were getting. Somebody got shot at the Grove last night in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And
the Grove Shopping Center.
The Grove is like the shopotainment shopping center that is the kind of the show. It's like Disneyland without rides, and it's in Midtown in Los Angeles. Let me see. I think I have a link to this video, which I can probably show. Yep, here it is. Let me do that. And if I'm smart, I can do it, and we can get the audio also at the same time. Here we go. Brave tab. Here we go. Twitter. Share audio in tab. Share. And so here it is. Let's see.
Okay.
Hear the gunfire?
I do.
So apparently some rapper who was pardoned by Donald Trump was shot in the foot last night by that. It sounds like an AK to me, but it
What
doesn't
was his
sound like
name?
I'm not sure.
You don't know? Okay.
But I'm sure that somebody in the chat can probably find it for us right now.
Okay.
But yeah. So last night, in a kind of like a upscale shopping place, it's not like a depressed area or anything. The Grove is a
Sure.
not, like I said, it looks like Disneyland. It just doesn't have rides.
Okay.
So somebody got shot there last night, and then the Super Bowl is tonight. But to your point, there were some Biden stories, right? That we were going to talk about, and one story was, I'm going to pull it up here.
Yes, the Biden administration.
Yeah, the Biden administration to fund crack pipe distribution to advance racial equality.
Yes.
Equity,
Yeah.
racial equity.
Equity. $30
like,
million.
I can't. Like, how do you make this up? And by the way, that's your. It's. I'm pointing at you. It's your $30 million that they're spending. It's yours. It's yours. People say it's government. I talked to this guy. I've known him for 30 years. He owns a restaurant the other day, and his restaurant was shut down for almost 2 years. And he's an attorney, so he knows how to work the system and stuff. And I go, I feel sorry for you because you're a small business owner. And he goes, it wasn't so bad. The government gave me a lot of money. And I was thinking, no, the government didn't give you that money. You took it from me.
Yeah.
It's like they gave you my money.
Yeah. Or
So-
someone else's. Yeah.
So anyway,
So
Addie,
$30 million.
did you put this
Yes.
Biden Super Bowl Sunday thing on the bottom of the screen here?
Yeah. Is that okay?
Yeah, I've never seen it before. I'm just wondering how you did that.
Okay, so you go over to the right, you go to you go to banners, and then you just click create banner, you scroll across bottom, and then you click add banner. And
That is the
saved it
that's
permanently,
that
so you can
that's
replay it
that's
if you
the
want.
bomb. Yeah. So
Yes.
so tell us more about the Biden administration and crack pipe distribution. What do you?
Yes. So
Or should we just read the story?
I guess applications closed on Monday. Will begin in May, providing funds to nonprofits and local governments to help make drug use safer for addicts. And a spokesman told the Washington Free Beacon that these kits will provide pipes for users to smoke crack cocaine, crystal methamphetamine, and, quote, any illicit substance, end quote.
Now, is that because you can get COVID from a crack pipe?
I love how they just end the article. It just says, President Biden's son Hunter is a longtime user of crack cocaine. And that's all it says. The end. Update, 4:30.
Biden? I mean, Hunter? Smoking crack? What do you think?
And I didn't know this. I mean, I knew obviously the laptop thing was big around election time. I think we actually did at least one show about
But the
it.
laptop is like the DNC server or like the Johns and the Ghislaine Maxwell case. It's like
Everybody knows type of thing.
everybody knows that it exists, and then there's no action that's been taken by any law enforcement.
It's absurd. And I guess activities with his niece, which I didn't know. I knew it was like minors.
Well, that's why when the Ashley Biden diary story came out that James O'Keefe is, all involved in.
Yes.
I was going, isn't that his niece? And like, isn't that again, there's all of these different stories, and like, did the Biden's daughter's diary story come out in order to cover up the Hunter Biden's niece story?
So you're covering up you're covering up incest.
What you're doing is you're filling the zone, right? You're throwing so much chaff at the news that people they glaze over, right? Because those are two different stories. There's Hunter Biden's niece that apparently he had some kind of a relationship with.
Yes, and then I'm aware of what it is, but I don't know. Can I say it or no?
Can you say what?
What happened?
Well, you can say what allegedly happened, and you can couch it as bad stuff instead of getting specific.
I mean, it involved feet.
Feet.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and there's video evidence of this.
So, pedo versus peda.
What?
Well,
I'm actually. I'm not. I was.
A pedophile would be somebody who wants to get involved with young people, right? And a pedophile would be somebody who wants to get involved with somebody's feet. Now, again, that becomes one of those things where you're flooding the zone with chaff. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Because there's pedo and there's peta.
Yeah.
Right.
There you go. And then there's pita bread.
And then there's pita bread, right? Exactly. And then there's.
Yes. So I didn't know.
And then there's limoncello, LaCroix.
It's a limoncello, I believe.
Limoncello, yeah.
Yeah.
Limoncello. It's our new favorite flavor here at the
Duke
is.
House. Okay.
Yes.
Well,
it's
no judgment passed. I would decline
Limoncello.
one were it offered to me because I have had those before, and I do not find them very tasty. But I'm glad you enjoy them, Peter. Have you had real limoncello?
No, but we're gonna go on that's a quest. Because after I drank this and we found out it was a real thing, then we decided that we needed to go find out what it was all about. So what about you?
I wish I could join you guys. That sounds fun. It's like an Italian sweet liqueur, like 20-ish%. Very smooth. Good stuff. It's kind of a I forget what the word is. I think it's one of the
aperitif. It's an aperitif.
Yeah, no, aperitif. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. It's good Italian liquor. So great stuff.
Not
there.
grappa.
Okay, what was that?
Not grappa.
What is that?
Grappa is wine that's made out of the pressings, the leftovers after the. So they squeeze the grapes to make the wine.
Okay.
And then they squeeze them again, and they make grappa. So.
Very nice.
It's very it's fortified. It's very,
What is
Wild Tangent makes limoncello.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow, that's great.
So I was reading about it last night.
Drew. Drew makes it too. I made limoncello once. It's easy, just takes time.
Yes.
So.
So what do you use? What liquor do you use? Because there's in the recipes we were looking at, they said 80% vodka will work, but 100% vodka, 80 proof vodka will work, but 100 proof vodka is better. And at 100 proof, aren't you like into the Everclear area? So can't you just use Everclear? But we don't have Everclear in California, so it's moot in California. But
it's illegal there?
They don't sell it in California. They don't sell anything you can run your vehicle off in California. I mean, Everclear is probably cheaper than gasoline at this point. So, What is the price of the pipe? Is it out of the reach for poor drug users? This is fun. Yeah, that's a great question. It's like we should figure out what the heuristics are. The word of the day. What are the heuristics that the government is using for determining whether or not somebody needs a new crack pipe? Like, does it need to have a government sticker? Aren't the crack pipe? I would think that people who own head shops who sell crack pipes, they'd be upset because the government is now disrupting their business, right?
Yeah.
They're going to have all of it. And I think a lot of that glass stuff that you buy in head shops is very expensive,
It
regular
depends.
vodka.
If you buy it from China, it's not. But if you buy it locally, then it costs a bit more.
Yeah. Do you think those crack pipes are going to be coming from the United States of America? Do you think that there's some crack pipe factory in the United States of America?
I think most of them are already coming from China.
Right.
Yeah. So buy local. Buy local glass, folks.
Yeah. Buy local crack pipes.
Get local. They call it local glass. Get your bongs locally. Or crack pipes. Either or.
All right.
But a comment there from Carol. 100%
Stolichnaya.
No intent.
Russian.
Okay.
Russian vodka. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, there you go.
Okay, but if you buy Russian vodka while you've been banned by Twitter for posting things news that they don't like, does that mean that the FBI is going to come through your door? I'm just asking.
I mean, if you're not criticizing Biden, that probably helps your chances. I was telling somebody last night, I think I've said this on the show before, but I've unregistered to vote because I don't want to be tempted into believing any of this BS anymore. That there's some hero that's going to show up on a white horse and I'm going to vote for him and then everything is going to change. And so I took myself out of the system. I'm unregistered to vote. And since I've unregistered to vote, I've become a huge Joe Biden fan. And the reason I'm a Joe Biden fan is because I don't think that anybody has done a better job in the history of the United States presidency of showing you how little control the president of the United States has over the government. Because I don't think the president of the United States has any control over the government. And I think it's a big game. It's a big game. Okay. That's why Donald Trump, getting my Twitter account banned for 12 hours or suspended for 12 hours because I said Donald Trump had the election stolen from him. I think every election has been stolen for the last 100 years, starting with William Howard Taft getting screwed by J.P. Morgan putting up Teddy Roosevelt to run against him so that they could slip in Woodrow Wilson and get the income tax and the Federal Reserve passed. They've been fixing elections for over 100 years now. So longer than I've been alive, longer than you've been alive, Addie. So I love Joe Biden because there's all of these people out there in the world now who are going, is this system real? Like, are the things that they're telling me on television actually really happening? All of that stuff I think is fantastic. So go Biden. Let's go Brandon. I feel sorry for Hunter Biden. I do. Like he didn't. You could pick your friends and you could pick your nose, but you can't pick your parents. That guy didn't pick Joe as his dad. Yeah, it's an interesting conversation. I don't know.
Interesting. Interesting is what they say in Hollywood when they don't like something, Addie. So ask me how I like your book, Addie. How do you like my book, Peter? Addie, it was really interesting.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if that conversation about whether or not I feel bad for Hunter Biden is one I want to have, But you make a fair point, you don't choose your parents, right, or your family, so.
Right. And I look at, I'm glad I'm talking to you because Tracy wouldn't let me talk about this, but I look at Hunter Biden and I look at like how old he is. Hunter Biden, more or less the same age as I think he's the same age as me or Kathy O'Brien, and I look at when Tracy and I went over that I Am Deimos
Yeah, I remember
audio
that.
thing that he released.
Yes, that was
That
weird.
to me sounds like some kind of a occult incantation, and that he had been part of something with his brother and his dad. Okay,
Yeah.
so what was he being ritually abused when he was a kid? Is that the way that he was initiated into this system? Is he part of an MK Ultra Monarch, mind control program? Because the stuff that he's doing, like, yeah, if we all had free will and you were doing that stuff, it would be pretty bad. But if you didn't have free will and you had been an abused mind control victim your whole life, you might have pity on somebody like that.
Right. Yeah. That's a fair point. Yeah.
So
Well, should we wrap here, Mr.
yeah, I
Duke?
was just gonna read Carol's thing and then
Yeah.
see what it says. Politics is now showing how corrupt, lying, fake, etc. We all see it for what it is now. We don't all see it for what it is now. Okay.
No, we don't.
Maybe
No, we don't.
maybe the 23 of you who are watching this live right now see it. Okay. But I can tell you that I have lots of conversations. Although it's funny, I had a conversation with a friend of mine who's a big attorney. He's a big, successful attorney, entertainment attorney in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And I started talking to him about this stuff 6 months ago. And his wife is one of us. She reads the stuff that we read. She looks at the stuff. But attorneys, and again, he's the third attorney that I've talked to about this. Attorneys have made their bones. They've made their success on this thing that they call the justice system, with the assumption that the game that they're playing isn't rigged. And it's hard to look at elections and then what's been going on in the judiciary for the last 5 or 6 years without starting to really question, like, have I been fooling myself my entire career? Like, I've been successful.
Sure.
I have a house, I have a car, I have a beautiful wife, I have all of these things going on. But is it really just my imagination that this thing is not rigged? Is it my imagination that this thing is fair? And attorneys, my friends who are attorneys, all seem to have a much harder struggle with it because they're looking at the law. They're looking at
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I was talking to Mike Cernovich about it the other night too. He's the fourth attorney, so there's 4 attorneys that I've been talking to about it. Anyway,
Sure.
there it is. I think good. That was a good show. So, Addie, I'll see you next week.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Likewise, Peter. We'll see everybody next week.
All right, like and
Addie Wagon.
subscribe, and if you like Addie's book, buy Addie's book, and
Please.
go bookmark the Duke Report. The Duke Report right now, like it only updates whenever a new story updates. So you could just like go bookmark it and stuff, and you should be good, like the old days before social media. And then you could just see what's going on every day.
Excellent. We're gonna love to watch the views on this show and the Duke Report climb. So.
All right, very good.
Question
We'll
is showing up.
Talk to you good soon. Later, bye.
Okay. Stay frosty.
You too.